Okay, hello everyone. Hopefully you have gotten through um the video on our syllabus and D2L. And if you have any questions, feel free to bring that on Wednesday. But in the meantime, let's get into our lecture for today. So we're going to start off with talking about our introduction to public speaking, which is chapter 1 in your online textbook. Also, I'm apologizing in advance because my throat hurts very badly. I think it's fall allergy thing. So if I take some breaths, if I drink a lot of water and do pauses, that is why. But let's get into it. So first off, I want you to take like 5 minutes, whether you need to pause this or whatever. I want you to think and brainstorm and maybe take a couple notes. Um, and I actually want us to discuss this on Wednesday together as a group. So at this point, right, you don't know anything. What do you know about public speaking? Why is this class important? And how will this class be applicable to your life? And I mean, this isn't me looking for the right answers. There are no right or wrong answers. Genuinely, I want to know what you think. This is the start of the class. I want to gauge where we're at. What are our thoughts? You won't hurt my feelings because I didn't create public speaking. I just teach it. So, um, if you truly are like, I don't think this class is important, I don't think this will apply to my life, hey, be honest. If that's genuinely what you think, be honest. And we can talk about it further in class. But I just want to gauge kind of where we're at. And yeah, so take a second, pause this, make some notes, and then on Wednesday, we can discuss this together as a class. Okay, let us get into it. So first, we are going to start with the speech communication process. So this is basically us breaking down like the intricacies of a conversation slash, in this case, a speech, right? So first we are starting off with um the speaker and the listener. So the people in this scenario, right? So the speaker creates a message and sends this message or encodes it, right? Creating a message or encoding a message, encoding, sends that message to the listener, where the listener interprets the message or decodes it. And then after they interpret slash decode a message, then they send feedback back to the speaker, and it's a loop. It's again and again and again, right? And this feedback, this can be verbally, this could be you replying back, but mostly in this scenario where you're the audience, right? Speaker is up front, listener is in the audience. This feedback can also be nonverbal. This could be you nodding your head. This could be you taking notes. This could be you giving a thumbs up. This could be you making a angry face, shaking your head, right? Positive or negative feedback. And then the speaker interprets that feedback, whatever that means, right? So we have the speaker who creates or encodes a message, sends it over to the audience or the listener, where they decode it or interpret the message. Then they send feedback back, which is basically just a message, back to the speaker, where then they interpret or decode the feedback. Again, could be verbal or nonverbal. In this case, it's most likely going to be nonverbal. Okay, what are the little other things? So we have the channel. So the channel is what the message or feedback is sent through. So basically, the channel is just like how you send your message. Think of it as like how the message is transported is kind of a weird way to put it, but I don't know how else to frame that. But think the channel is either face to face, verbally, this could be over the phone, over text, over social media. What channel is the speaker using to send over the message, right? Does that make sense? In this case, it's going to be verbally, not necessarily, I guess, kind of face to face because, um, but not interpersonally in a group. Anyways, this is going to be verbally face to face is the channel in the public speaking sense, right? Interpersonally, that could be different, but, um, sending a message through the channel, again, the listener then chooses the channel to then transport their feedback back to the speaker. Make sense? Then we have this interference. This is called interference. Some textbooks call it noise, but basically it's those distractions in life. It's if this listener is hungry, or someone in the room coughs, or the speaker's wearing a clown nose. Anything that can prohibit the listener and then speaker from accurately interpreting the message or feedback or listening, right? So anything that basically affects the message being sent. And then lastly, we have the situation. So the situation, right? It's out here. It's the whole thing. It's the time, the place, the context of the environment at that time. So whatever the situation is, will change how this message is created and then also how it's interpreted. So let's say, for example, the situation in this case is that I am teaching college students about public speaking. That changes the messages I create, the examples I use that I send to you. This also changes how you interpret your message. As a college student, you know, what are you taking from this? Like, is this your major? So you're making sure you want to do great and get a good grade, right? Versus if the situation is, I'm training, um, let's say lawyers to public speak in front of people, right? See, you're paying for this where a group of lawyers are probably getting paid to hear me train them, right? So the messages I create will be different. Feedback would be different. The situation essentially changes the messages being created and the messages being interpreted. Does that make sense? It's honestly, the first couple times I saw this, I was like, literally what? Because it just feels so silly at first, but being a calm girly, I just eat this stuff up now. But breaking down the intricacies of something so mundane as a speech or a conversation, things we don't even think about to like define and break down, this is what we're doing right now. And this will help in the future when we learn more about audience analysis and listening and interpreting messages and miscommunication. You'll come back to this and think, okay, where did the miscommunication come from? Was it the situation or context? Did the speaker create a message that didn't make sense? Was the channel not a good choice? Was the interference why I didn't hear it accurately? Did I interpret it different because me and the speaker have very different lives and perceptions and frames of references? Did the feedback I send confuse the speaker and did they interpret that differently? So there's so many things when we look more into miscommunication and breaking that down. But that is the speech communication process. So let us move on. So as the speaker, you have responsibilities. So the speaker's responsibilities, which we'll get in later to the listener's responsibilities in a week or a couple weeks. First and foremost, maintain high ethical standards. So never distort information. Um, I want you to respect your audience and also reject stereotyping and scapegoating. So when never distorting information, I want you to think about, in our informative speeches, right? Like informative speeches, changing facts to make your informative speech sound better or look more credible. Um, Business figures, right? Changing, even if, in your mind, you're like, well, if I just change this like 0.1%, it'd look better and it's not really different, so it's okay. No, don't change, don't distort information to make yourself look better or to help your case, even if it is a little bit. Second is enriching your listener, or sorry, we're still on number one. Respecting your audience, right? Have you ever heard or seen like a stand-up comedian and they start bombing and they turn on the audience? Like immediately they're like, "Well, fuck y'all. Y'all don't get it." Right? Like like it's their fault, right? And it's like, "Sir, I don't think it's the audience's fault. I think it's maybe yours, right?" So respecting your audience is very, very good, especially to maintain a friendly audience. Lastly, and number one is rejecting stereotypes and scapegoating. So making sure you aren't grouping people and making assumptions and blaming certain groups of people for certain things in your speeches, right? Essentially, you know, with don't stereotype, right? Be welcoming to all audience members. You don't know who's in the crowd, and you don't want to alienate them from your message of your speech. Second, enriching listeners' lives. Sometimes, really, like, all we can think about is ourselves, how much we don't want to talk in front of all these people. But maybe we could start thinking about this a little differently, right? Think about your classmates. Think about, I could teach them something they didn't know about, right? And after my speech, now they do. So think about the listeners and what they are getting from your speech. Lastly, take every speech seriously. I know as a speech teacher, you're like, okay, like whatever, but in the classroom, like this is your time to practice. Don't let being super nervous or trying to be perfect and, be cool and have people like you. Don't let that be the focus of your speeches in here. This is your time to practice and to fail and just give it your all and try your best. So then when you go out in the real world, you know exactly what to do and how to do it because you already had the space to try different things, see if they work or they don't work, right? And even take a speech seriously, even if it's a super small audience, right? Say, I hope this is never the case, but in one of my other classes, I have only 6 students, right? So, and they have to do a demonstration speech as well in there. Um, Even if there's one person, always take your speech seriously. Same with me. Like when I'm teaching a class, if everyone decided not to show up except one person, I have to realize even though it's only one person, I can still make a lasting effect and I can still teach this one person something, right? So taking every speech seriously. So those are the speaker's responsibilities. So now that we have gone over kind of an intro to public speaking, I know super quick, just an overview. I want us to then start talking about managing nervousness. Your textbook also calls it communication apprehension, and this is in chapter 11 of your online textbook. So I can assume probably majority of us here are scared of public speaking a little bit. You fear it for some reasons, right? I mean, I'll be very honest with you. When I took my public speaking class, oh my gosh, I was like, this is the worst experience of my life. And here I am teaching it, and I have to stand in front of people all day and essentially make a speech, and I get paid for it. You know what I mean? Like if I don't do well, I'm getting fired. So there's a lot of pressure there. There's a lot of pressure. So, but at the same time, there can be value in that. And so to start off, I kind of want us to think about what are reasons for our nervousness. We fear being stared at. We fear failure or rejection. Um, we fear the unknown. We might have had like a traumatic experience in the past. Um, or probably the most common, which is it's just we have social anxiety in general. And I think these are very like common, and I think everyone feels this. And I think we need to stop assuming that everyone who goes up there that seems cool, calm, collected doesn't feel that. I think we're all freaking out in some kind of capacity, right? Some of us can just hide it better than others. So, but let's take that fear and let's change it to a different point of view. Let's start valuing that fear, right? Like you might be thinking, okay, this class, my goal is to get rid of all my anxieties when it comes to making a speech. But actually having some nerves can make a speech great. So a little fear is good, right? It means you care. If you weren't nervous for, you know, a first date, literally you might literally be like, this person doesn't matter to me, right? Like, I don't really like this person that much, but I guess I'm gonna go. Someone who is completely cool, calm, collected, probably like their speech is gonna be dull and flat. And like the way I talk isn't because, and you'll see it more in person, but it's not because I'm cool, calm, collected. Like I'm talking like this because I'm a little nervous. I want to make sure I'm giving you all the right information. Um, so yeah, but it can help make your speech better, right? Fear gives us adrenaline, which gives us energy and enthusiasm. So it's able to add that pizzazz to your speech that maybe you can't give it on your own, which I feel that completely. When I practice my speeches, I speak very okay, now we do this. Where when I start getting nervous, I'm like, okay, so now we're gonna blah, blah, blah. It gives me some pizzazz and it will make it very interesting for people to listen and to hear. So that's first when managing communication apprehension slash nervousness is starting to frame it to start valuing your fear. Next, let's talk about some guidelines for managing nervousness, some tips and tricks, something to help. So we're splitting this up in 3 different sections. So first, we're going to start during the planning stage of your speech. So during the planning stage of your speech, first one, choose a topic you know well. I will say this over and over again. Don't just choose a topic that you think I will like. You think it's just a good, like, I want you to know this topic well. You are already so nervous. If you don't know this topic just naturally in life, your nerves will make you forget that, like, completely forget it, right? So, first, choose a topic you know well. Second, prepare. when it comes to the planning stage, you better start far in advance, right? You don't need to be, I assign the speech and the next day you're done with it. I just think it's like the elephant. It's like, how do you eat an elephant? Like piece by piece. Same thing, prepare. Start every day, set a timer 30 minutes, and keep going, but start preparing in advance. Never memorize a speech. I know some people probably would think the opposite of this, but actually, if you memorize a speech and you forget like an even a small word like an and or two, it can throw you off like no other. And here we're working on extemporaneous speaking, which is very like, here are some key points, and then fill in the blank with your commentary. That's kind of how I teach. I have notes on here, I have examples, I have questions, but I'm filling in the blank as I go because I have a topic I know well. So never memorize a speech. Next, visualize yourself giving an effective speech. I know this feels very like hippy dippy vibes, but genuinely think about, close your eyes, visualize yourself giving a good, effective speech. What tone are you using? What delivery methods are you using? What movement? What gestures? This can help you with planning, also to help you feel more confident. Next is know that shyness is no barrier. Don't think just because you're a shy person that I will never be good at public speaking. Public speaking's the worst. Just because you're shy, it has nothing to do with you being a great speaker. Like we said, valuing fear. Don't let this characteristic that you or others have put on yourself affect your ability to be great because it is no barrier. Next is shifting your focus from yourself to the audience, right? You go from, what if they hate me? Or what if I embarrass myself? What if I mess up? What if they laugh at me? And kind of frame that back to what would be something they would enjoy listening to? How do I keep them engaged? Change your worry of yourself to, okay, what can I do to help the audience stay engaged and want to listen to me? Which I think is a really cool perspective to shift that focus. Next is plan your visual aids. So this could be using visual aids to kind of take the pressure off you. Not all your speeches will you have visual aids in this class specifically. Your demonstrative you will. I even want you to have tangible ones. Um, your informative speech, you can have a PowerPoint if you want. Pitch, you will have visual aids. Persuasive, you probably won't, but three of them you will. I mean, in class, if I was teaching this, I mean, even now, right? I'm using the PowerPoint. You don't see my face because it kind of takes the pressure off me. It kind of helps me be less nervous because I can rely on the visual aid to like take the pressure off of me at times, right? So it's not necessarily all eyes on me all the time. Sometimes I have a visual aid to accompany me, right? Next is shift the focus. Oh, wait. Sorry, that needs to be under plan visual aids. Never mind. Next one is make arrangements. Don't wait till the literal 10 minutes prior to your speech where you're like, oh, oh, I need to use the whiteboard. Oh, shoot, this isn't working. Or, um, hey, I need to upload my PowerPoint and then it doesn't work. Make sure if you need to use the whiteboard, Make sure you have a plan. Is there any tripping hazards in the front of the classroom? Do we need to project a PowerPoint? Make arrangements and make it far in advance. I would say notice your surroundings, where tables are placed, where you would walk around. Um, and again, if there's any places to trip. When it comes to your visual aid, make sure that works far in advance because we are, especially on speech day, in this class, we have like an hour and a half. So we got to go, go, go. We got to make sure we are hitting all of our speeches in a timely fashion. And lastly is do extra practice on the introduction of your speech. So I say this because when you first get up there, right, there's a high chance, number one, the whole time you've been planning this, you've been kind of stewing on your nervousness a little bit. And then even when you sit in class, that nervousness is going to hit. And if you're not the first speaker and you kind of decide to go last, it's kind of stewing and building and building. So by the time you're up there, you are so, so, so nervous. Your introduction is the first thing you are going to do. If you know the introduction like the back of your hand, once you get through your introduction, your nervousness is going to, okay, I got this. This isn't the end of the world. I'm okay, right? So practice the most where you will be the most nervous. And then from there, it will all flow and your nervousness will not totally go away because remember, we need it to add some pizzazz, but it will, it won't be so heightened to where you're going blank and your body feels like you're having a heart attack, right? So that is during the planning stage, things you can do. Next, let's get into immediately before the speech. So this is like you come into class 30, 20 minutes early, things you want to make sure before the speech happens. First, verify equipment and materials. Make sure your visuals are here and they're working. Do you have your notes? I think that's the biggest thing. Do you have your note cards and the visuals you're bringing? Do you have all of them? Um, are they what you expected? I'm just thinking about our trifold, making sure nothing, no pictures fall off or you glued something in the wrong place, didn't notice it till then. Um, Making sure the PowerPoint can be open on our computer. I have it in my email or um, make sure that your laptop is able to connect to our computer, which I'm pretty sure I need to double check, but I'm sure there's connections for USB-C and HDMI in the classroom. So just making sure that works right before, and you're like, okay, this is all good. I don't need to be nervous about it. Next, get acclimated to your audience and your setting. So this I would say come to class a little early so you could just kind of sit and get acclimated with, okay, who's coming in? What's going on? What's the vibe? Just because you know when you get someplace last minute and it feels so like rushed and you're like, oh, I didn't even have time to kind of settle, like get stuff out of my backpack. Let your time, give yourself some time to settle. Come in, get all your notes out, right? Verify all these, go to the bathroom, come back, make sure you have some water, the whole thing, right? Because if anything happens, you at least have that extra time to make sure everything is good. Lastly is using your physical actions to release tension. So the anxious girlies, they know all about this, but one thing to do, right, if you're literally like, you can feel your heart pounding in your chest, is doing the whole take 3 slow, deep breaths and hold them, and then inhale slowly and exhale slowly, right? So Let's do it together. I know you can't see me, so it's a little more difficult, but ready? So let's breathe in slowly through your nose, hold, and then inhale or exhale through your mouth slowly. And do that 3 times, and you'll be able to start feeling your heart rate slow down. And even like, I mean, I am a movement gal. Probably whenever I teach, I will be standing and fiddling with pens or markers, or I feel like I need to have something in my hands, right? So, I mean, I'm joking about it, but at the same time, if you need to go take a lap, if you need to go do a sprint down the hall to release some tension, hey, go ahead. Whatever you got to do, freaking do it. You need to do some stretches in the back, hey, everyone's journey is their own journey. Go for it. So those are things we can do immediately before the speech. So that's day of, you come in 30 to 20 minutes early and get these done. So next is during the speech, which I think this might be what we're looking for the most is, okay, during the speech, when I am out the wazoo, what can I do to help my nervousness when I am on the spot, right? First and foremost, using a pause. Pausing before you start. Take a few seconds, stay calm, look over your notes, kind of get the first couple sentences down on your note cards, and then boom, get into it, right? It is okay to take a pause. I know when we're nervous, it feels like we need to talk and entertain the audience, but pausing actually makes you feel or makes you look more credible, more together, more confident, right? Um, and during this pause, start dealing rationally with your body's turmoil at the moment, right? If you start to feel a pounding heart, trembling hands, shaking knees, dry throat, difficulty breathing, a quivering voice, right? Take this time, take this pause, get your mind right. Just because this is unpleasant, it doesn't mean it's a disaster, right? Like just because you stood up there, took a pause, and were nervous, doesn't mean, oh, I failed. This sucks. Everyone knows, right? All you need to do is just concentrate on getting your ideas across. Change your mind frame from, I'm so nervous, this is going horrible. Don't let yourself spiral. Keep your mind in that pause before you start. Say, all you got to do is get these ideas from the note card out to the audience. That is your main goal. Next is think of communication, not performance. So, what does this mean? Basically, I think a lot of times our nervousness comes from what if I mispronounce something, or what if I forget, or what if I trip, or what if I do something weird, or I have a booger in my nose, right? Like, we're thinking about the performance aspect. Change this to communication, right? Audiences are more interested in what you have to say versus how you perform it. Think, you know, Thinking about how we perform is a lot of the root of our anxieties. Think of what am I trying to communicate? Again, back to the pause. Your main goal is to get these main ideas and communicate them to your audience. Next is know that most symptoms actually are not seen. Like, have you ever like done something like super scary and you're like, "Oh my gosh, that went awful," because you were just so nervous and it felt horrible? And then someone is like, "Hey, oh my gosh, like you did great." And you're just like, "Huh?" Right? Most of the time, people have literally no idea that you are nervous, right? So think of like stand-up comedians. Like a lot of times, like you can't really tell Sometimes you can, but most of the times you can't, and I'm sure every single one of those comedians are nervous, right? If they weren't, they'd be pretty bland. Next is never mention your nervousness or apologize, right? You're just kind of bringing attention to it. Um, I think sometimes we're like we want to relate to our audience, and in this case, I would probably admit that I'm nervous to y'all because I want to bring us to a relatable level. I want us not just to be teacher and then y'all are students. I want us to be able to communicate freely, share ideas, right? So I want to put us on the same playing field. So that's why I may mention my nervousness. So y'all know that even though I'm the quote unquote expert to teach y'all about it, I also feel that way. Where in this case, if y'all were to mention your nervousness or say sorry for messing up in front of your peers, it could take away from your credibility. And at the same time, going back to most symptoms are never seen, we probably never even thought. You may be like, I'm so sorry, like, I'm so nervous. And we're just like, I mean, your speech was going good. I don't know why you said sorry. So then that kind of throws us off. So do not apologize, do not mention it because most likely we have no idea what's going on and we didn't notice that you messed up. Next is don't let your audience upset you. Just because, you know, the audience is looking at you with blank faces, this doesn't mean they hate you. If every class I taught, you know, if any time I got some blank faces at me, and I got mad about it, oh, I'd be out of a job. You know what I mean? Your audience, most of the time, remember, we're all people, we're all dealing with our own things. Most of the time, it has nothing to do with you. They're thinking about their own stuff, they're in their own world, right? They might not even be listening to you. Let's be real. Um, don't let this upset you, right? And at the same time, some people are, they just that's just their face. They're listening very much to you and they're enjoying it, but their nonverbals are not saying it. So just remember people got things going on. Um, if people are smiling or someone whispers to another person and the other person laughs, don't assume that's about you. How many times have you, while I mean, even when I'm up there, right, an instructor is talking and you mention something to your friend that has nothing to do with, oh, they messed up, or oh, they're so stupid, or what they said is weird. Most of the time, you're talking about something completely different, right? So, as the speaker, don't let this upset you. Don't let your audience upset you. Next is act poise. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, but hey, if you aren't poised, act it. Fake it till you make it. Stay cool, calm, collected. Act like, even if you don't feel like it, act like the best speaker, the most charismatic speaker you've ever seen, right? Next is, oh, and one more thing about acting poise. You know how people say, like, I gotta look the part? Exactly. Act the part, be the part, look the part, even if you don't feel like the part. Next is look directly at the audience. Right? Making that eye contact. A lot of the times, people are going to look at you, they're going to nod, they're going to smile, and that will really help with okay, I'm doing good. The audience is engaging with me, as well as if you kind of start looking off, it might make your brain trail off and start thinking, like, oh my gosh, like, this is so bad. You forgot this, da da da. But if you make eye contact, right, it makes you feel strong, it makes you feel confident, and you can also get that confidence from your audience's nonverbals. Next is don't speak too fast, right? If you're talking fast, obviously from nerves, it's like blah, 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 right? If you take a pause and just slow down and really think about your main points and your gestures, this will kind of help you focus more on, okay, what is my delivery doing? How can I make my message clear and stop focusing on what I'm nervous about? Next is eliminating excess energy. Ways to do that is in our delivery, right? Our movement, our gestures. If you are feeling tingly legs, you feel kind of like jello, make yourself move and remind yourself, like, hey, my legs are strong. I know what's going on. I'm here. Um, Movement and gestures will get that excess energy out. I talk a lot with my arms and my hands, especially when, even now, I'm doing it. You can't even see me, but it helps me kind of gather my ideas. It helps me get that energy out so I'm not just stewing on it in a little ball of nerves. Next is accepting imperfection. Again, you are here to practice and mess up and learn. I wish, and these will kind of go into each other, right? When welcoming experience. This is your time to get feedback from classmates. This is time to get feedback from me. This is your time to share ideas and learn about yourself. And I don't know. I wish when I was younger, someone told, like, I don't know. I'm sure plenty of people told me, but I wish my brain allowed myself to be imperfect and allowed myself to be vulnerable in front of other people to mess up because a lot of my life was wasted on stressing about other people and what they thought about me and not necessarily caring about how I was doing and how I could have improved, right? In the real world, that's our time to try to, right? Especially if someone's paying us, we have to do a business presentation or we have to get donations for a nonprofit we're working for, right? That's when things are on the line and we want to be perfect and make sure we don't mess up. In here, when it's just a grade, if you do everything right, messing up isn't going to make you fail the class, right? Messing up is just teaching you for the next speech, what can I do better? So allow yourself the grace and the peace for this class that messing up isn't the end of the world. No one in this class is going to remember you messing up. This is your time to just practice and let's have grace for other people that we're all practicing and we encourage each other. And that's kind of the community I'm trying to build within this class. And yeah, I just want us to be comfortable, especially because this is such an uncomfortable uh topic in the sense of putting ourselves out there and talking in front of a lot of people and having all eyes on us, right? So just something to ponder, something to think about. Um, but yeah. See, it's weird kind of just talking and not being able to ask y'all questions, but so those are all the guidelines for managing nervousness. So what we did today was I told you a little bit more about me. We went over the syllabus. Um, I talked about intro to communication, and then we talked about managing nervousness a little bit more. Um, so think about any questions, comments, concerns you may have. Remember, oh, well, we'll get into that. But our assignments, if you haven't already, for class, read chapter 1 and 11. I will say our online textbook, it is not long. Like, it is not bad at all. It's very easy to understand. So, I mean, even if you just skim it, look at the pictures, read one sentence of every paragraph. Hey, just get familiar with it, understand it, right? Don't let my lectures be, because I'm just going over the basis, right? This will give you the meat of each topic. So with each, at least for this one, like I said in the syllabus review, depending on the week, we'll either have one quiz or two quizzes because this week was our syllabus review, our welcome week, and then we also had content. I divided these in two different quizzes. Remember, these quizzes are due 11:59 on Tuesdays, so the night before our class on Wednesday. And I will use these to kind of gauge where we're at, what we missed, and I'll go over that in our class on Wednesdays before we start the day. And this is your time to then ask questions about the lecture, um, any comments, any concerns, etc. And then for our next class, we will be doing our in-class challenge, which is introduce yourself mini speech. I will have a couple of prompts. This should be uploaded in your D2L, so you can kind of review that, see what we're going to do. You'll have plenty of time in class to do this. Don't think you have to do anything outside, but if you just kind of want to see what we're going to be up to, we'll be doing that. And then we will, I know on the syllabus it says we're doing a different activity. I changed that to our note card challenge. So Wednesday will mostly be a introduction day, getting to know each other day, getting used to Wednesdays. This will also be our question day. If you have questions about the syllabus, you're confused, this day is the day to do it, right? Don't wait until right before your speech to ask me questions, right? Take the opportunity to ask as many questions. There's no dumb questions. Maybe I'll make everyone bring one question, even if you think it's stupid, because it may help someone else. So with that, I will see y'all on Wednesday. Bye.